Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wa bihi nasta'in ala umuri dunya waddin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain amma ba'du. First, I'm standing here just have a little presentation for you all. Under title is 8 famous shoes brand in the world. Right. Let's start the presentation. First brand in the world is Adidas. Adidas is one of the most famous shoes brand in the world that began in history science 19 and 20. It is the two brothers who are German citizens, namely Adolf or Adi Dassler and Rudolf Dassler, the originators of the idea of developing the shoe industry, which has become the forerunner of Adidas today. The brothers finally separated when Rudolf Dassler decided to make his own shoes brand, which was named is Puma. And Adidas' commitment to make quality shoes Adidas to become a shoe brand worn by world famous athletes, on the world sports stage, such as the Olympics. Adidas itself is an acronym or abbreviation taken from the name of the founder, Adi Dassler. Now Adidas, which has three distinctive features, has developed its brand and become a world fashion icon that includes shoes, clothing, bags, watch, and perfumes. This Adidas picture. Adidas was founded by Adolf or Adi Dassler, who made sports shoes in his mother's cure or laundry room in Herzogenaurach in Germany. After his return from World War I in July 1924, his older brother Rudolf joined to the business, which became Dassler Brothers Shoes Factory or Gebruder Dassler Schuhfabrik in Dutch language. And the electricity supply in Herzogenaurach was unreliable, so that brother sometimes had used pedal power from a stationary bicycle to run their equipment. Dassler assisted in the development of spike running shoes or spikes for multiple athletic events to transition from a previous model of heavy metal. Spikes is utilizing canvas and rubber. In 1936, Dassler persuaded U.S. sprinter name is Jess Owens to use his handmade spikes at the 1936 Summer Olympic. 1936 Summer Olympic. Following Owens for gold medals, known to the world sportsmen and their trainers, business was successful, and the Dassler were selling 200,000 pairs of shoes every year before World War before World War II. The Dolbury factory used for production of anti-tank weapons during the Second World War was nearly destroyed in 1945 by U.S. force, but was spared. Uh, when their wife confessed the GLS that the company and the employees were only interested in manufacturing sports shoes. American occupying force subsequently became major buyers of the Dassault Brothers shoes. And this is a video about Adidas.
Adidas, the brand of choice for slots across the world. It's kind of ironic once you realize that the brand was started by a German guy named Adolf, but hey, that's fine. What will surprise you even more, though, is the fact that Puma was started by the same family.
And the brother Adidas are like Rudolf Dasser is make a brand himself like a Puma, and then the Puma is so many interested to Puma, and then but the Adidas is still in number one. Sorry.
Adidas, first though, is the fact that Puma was started by the same family. That's why this week on Behind the Business we'll be looking at the dramatic history of Germany's premier sportswear brand, Adidas.
Behind the business.
Our story starts in the early 1920s in the quiet Bavarian town of Herzogenaurach. The town was a shoemaker's delight, and many of its former textile mills had been converted into shoe workshops. In fact, out of the town's 3,500 residents, there were 112 cobblers. One of them was 20-year-old Adolf Dasser, the poor son of a shoemaker and a laundryworth. His family was too poor to give him a formal education, so he had...
This is Adolf Dasser, who is like his Adidas CTO, like he's make brand Adidas in the world.
To follow in his father's footsteps by making shoes. The years after World War I, however, were some of the harshest in recent memory, and it was hard to make a living as a cowboy. Adi couldn't even afford a dedicated working overnight, so he had to do his business from the back of his mother's laundry. Electricity was so unreliable that Adi had to power his machines by hooking them up to his bike and pedaling. The materials for the shoes themselves were also expensive. To make ends meet, Adi had to scavenge leftover military equipment from the war. He repurposed everything he could get his hands on, from military uniforms to sacks and vehicle tires. As an ardent sports fan, however, Adi had always wanted to make sporting shoes.
These sports shoes it is sports shoes who make is Adidas and is the first shoes sport in the world.
Experimented by adding small metal cleats and spikes to his footwear, he hopes of creating something
football
sports
shoes.
Just as Adi was starting
soccer.
to make a name for himself, he was joined by his brother Rudolf in 1924. Rudolf was 2 years older and had a formal education, which made him the star of the family. He was also more experienced, having previously worked at a porcelain factory and a leather enterprise in Nuremberg. Rudolf was a charismatic, extroverted salesperson who was very successful in making good deals and getting customers. The two Dasser brothers made great partners, and together they started a joint enterprise called Die Gebrüder Dasser.
Is
With Adi handling production and Rudy doing the marketing, their business became very efficient. In 1926, their sports shoes became popular enough to allow the Dassers to move out of their mother's laundry and to build an actual workshop. Their father joined them at this new location, and together with about a dozen other employees, the brothers were now capable of producing up to 100 pairs of shoes every day. Adi was eager to expand beyond Bavaria, and to this end he took it upon himself to visit every major sporting event he could find to get athletes to try out his footwear. His efforts paid off, and in the 1928 Olympics in Amsterdam, Dasser shoes graced the feet of many top top German athletes.
And Olympian
Adidas shoes
Amsterdam.
appeared again in the 1932 Olympics in Los Angeles, this time worn by sprinter Arthur Young. Arthur managed to win several medals, proving that the Adidas shoes were
And
worthy
this
of being
Olympic
invested.
athletes like
This Olympic success gave the brand great recognition, so
Right.
Adi decided
Adi
that for
Spring.
the 1936 Olympics, he'd want to sponsor nothing less than a gold medalist. Adi packed his best shoes and personally drove to the Olympic Village in Berlin, where he talked to the American runner Jesse Owens a few days
and this
before
is
the
Jesse
Olympics.
Allen from
It's a
the
mystery
US.
how, but Adi managed to convince Owens to wear his shoes in the competition. When Owens ended up winning 4 gold medals, Adi was beyond ecstatic. The Dassler brand continued its stellar performance in the 1930s, and to gain the government support, Adi and Rudolf ended up joining the Nazi Party. Unfortunately for them, though, the other Adolf decided to invade Poland, and once the war got underway, demand for civilian goods plummeted. By December 1943, Germany was starting to lose on the Eastern Front, and in desperation it began
and
repurposing the few
also
civilian enterprises
his
left,
back
among which was the
any-
Dassler business. Their shoe factory ended up producing anti-tank weapons,
Any-
panzer shrimps.
But
In April
since make
1945, however,
not
Hitler
shoes,
received a
but
healthy dose of
like
liberty in the form of
uniform,
Nazi American troops.
military, just
The
military,
Americans
also
initially wanted to
and
destroy the
short
Dassler
shoes.
factory, but Adi's wife somehow managed to convince the soldiers that they actually just wanted to make shoes. Eventually, the Americans stationed near the town became one of the company's first international clients, especially once they heard of Dassler's link to Jesse Owens. Despite their business surviving relatively intact, World War II devastated the German economy, and the Dasslers had to go back to scavenging old war materials. Sometimes workers didn't even get paid in currency, but rather through barter with items like firewood or yarn. Most serious of all, however, was the immense personal schism that occurred between Adi and Rudolf. While the exact reason for their falling out remains a mystery, the most prominent theory is that Rudolf thought Adi had informed on him
And
during the war,
Adi
which eventually
is-
landed Rudolf in an Allied POW camp for several years. Whatever the case,
Go
World War
to
II ended up
America,
causing
and
irreversible
Rudolf
damage
stay
to the
in
Dasslers'
Germany.
relationship, and in 1948 Rudolf left the family business. He took a large part of the workforce with him and assumed control of what was supposed to be a new factory build. Thus, he founded Puma and vowed to never speak to Adi again. The rivalry spread to the town itself, and to this day citizens of Herzogenaurach are known as bednecks for their tendency to crane their necks to look at what shoes other people are wearing. The supporters of the two brands became very territorial, since each enterprise was situated on opposite sides of the river. Depending on their allegiance, workers claimed various bars, restaurants, and even schools. Adi
Even
remained his
and Adidas have a
enterprise
school,
to
like
Adidas,
Adidas.
focused on technical
The name
innovations and
of
sponsorship.
Adidas is
He would end up
Adi
revolutionizing shoe designs
from
through a variety of
his name
styles,
and
where
Das
people
from
use
his
best
name too,
creations
like
to star
Adidas.
athletes and Olympians. Adidas made their big break in the US during the 1950s, and over time their fame trickled down from professional sports into everyday life. Puma was also doing well, but the Dassler brothers continued to hate each other with a passion. Their feud would count them to their graves, and today each brother is buried at an opposite side of the Herzogenaurach cemetery. Adi died in 1978, and that's when Adidas finally started to lose some of its team. They lost ground in North America to upstarts like Nike and Reebok, and in 1989 they were forced into bankruptcy after losing nearly $18 million.
wow.
Ownership of the company passed through several French businessmen until 1993, when Robert Louis Dreyfus managed to restore the brand by moving production to Asia. Under his guidance, Adidas staged a dramatic
And
real
Adidas has
in
changed
the
their
late
logo
1990s,
to
despite
like
stiff
this.
competition. Since then, their sales have been steadily rising, and they've acquired several other brands, most notably Reebok in 2005. Recently, they've taken a notice of the growing role of technology in sports, and in 2015 they made a landmark acquisition
now
by
is-
buying the fitness
that
tech company
is,
Runtastic
Adidas
for
logo now
$240
in
billion. Despite the
2019.
fair amount of twists and turns in their rise to fortune, Adidas has definitely secured its place as one of the great German enterprises of the modern age. Thanks for watching, and a big thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. If you want to vote on which company we do next, or if you'd like early access to our future videos, do check out our Patreon page, where your support will be more than welcome. You should also check out our subreddit, where we hang out quite frequently to talk to you guys. Of course, we've also got a Facebook page you can like, and a Twitter profile you can follow. In case you missed it, do check out our previous video on the history.
And next is Nike. Nike. The brand is very easily recognized by only seeing its very popular logo. The shoe symbol, Nike itself, is taken from the name of the Greek goddess, which means victory. Founded first by the University of Oregon, initiated by Philip Knight. Philip Knight is Nike founder, a runner, athlete, and coach Bill Bowerman. Nike has now grown to become one of the leaders of the sport shoes market in the world. In its promotional activities, Nike often uses famous athletes to boost its brand image. Just say Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, maybe now at in this year is like Ronaldo, and Wayne Rooney. Well, once the star of Nike, even Michael Jordan has come collaborated with Nike to develop a very popular Nike brand line, the Jordan brand, like Air Jordan. And then this appeal Nike Inc. is an American multinational corporation that is engaged in the design, development, manufacturing, and worldwide marketing and sales of footwear, apparel, equipment, accessories, and service. The company is headquartered near Beaverton, Oregon, in the Portland metropolitan area. It is the world's largest supplier of athletic shoes and apparel, and a major manufacturing of sport equipment with revenue in excess of $24 billion US. In its fiscal years 2012, ending May in ending May 31, 31, and 2012. As of 2012, it employed more than 4,400 people worldwide. In 2014, the brand alone was sold at $19 billion US, making it the most valuable brand among sport business. As of 2017, the Nike brand is valued at $29 billion. Nike ranked number in 89 in the 2018 Fortune 500 list of the largest United States corporation by total revenue. And this is a video about Nike.
Nike, the world's most popular and biggest sportswear company. In just over 50 years, one man's dream of better shoes turned into a global corporation worth over $100 billion. Today, we're going back to the earliest days of Nike to figure out how that magic happened and what the ingredients were to their success. This video is brought to you by Audible, and the story you're going to watch now is just one chapter in the awesome biography of Nike's creator, which you can listen to for free as part of your 30-day free trial of Audible if you register with the link in the description. The year is 1962, and Phil Knight had just graduated from Stanford. As any business graduate can tell you,
this is a Phil Knight. Phil Knight is Nike founder on Stanford University.
Becoming an entrepreneur is difficult if you don't have any good ideas, but Phil had one. He was a distance runner back in university, and in one of his business classes, he had written a paper proposing the following idea. Phil had seen how Japanese cameras had replaced the dominant German cameras in the American market, and he wondered whether Japanese shoes could do the same to Puma and Adidas, which were at the time extremely popular in America. And by the way, that is indeed how you pronounce Adidas. But back to Phil. After writing that paper and graduating, Phil became obsessed with his idea about bringing Japanese shoes to the USA. Of course, he didn't actually own any Japanese running shoes, and the few he had seen were brought stateside by soldiers who had been stationed in Japan during the occupation after the Second World War. But this lack of exposure only reassured Phil that he had stumbled upon a great opportunity. He knew that to take advantage of it, he'd have to establish contact with a Japanese company and negotiate to import their goods to America, both of which were actions he had exactly zero experience with. But, as is befitting of the man who later created Nike, he went ahead and just did it. In November 1962, he flew over to Japan like a tourist and just started exploring. In the beautiful city of Kobe, he stumbled upon a shoe store that caught his eye. It belonged to a company called Onitsuka Tiger, and the shoes they made were, for their time, very high quality. Nike, the world's most popular and biggest sportswear company. In just over 50 years, one man's dream of better shoes turned into a global corporation worth over $100 billion. Today, we're going back to the earliest days of Nike to figure out how that magic happened and what the ingredients were to their success. This video is brought to you by Audible, and the story you're going to watch now is just one chapter in the awesome biography of Nike's creator, which you can listen to for free as part of your 30-day free trial of Audible if you register with the link in the description. The year is 1962. Phil Knight had just graduated from Stanford. As any business graduate can tell you, becoming an entrepreneur is difficult if you don't have any good ideas. But Phil had one. He was a distance runner back in university, and in one of his business classes, he had written a paper proposing the following idea. Phil had seen how Japanese cameras had replaced the dominant German cameras in the American market, and he wondered whether Japanese shoes could do the same to Puma and Adidas, which were at the time extremely popular in America. And by the way, that is indeed how you pronounce Adidas. But back to Phil. After writing that paper and graduating, Phil became obsessed with his idea about bringing Japanese shoes to the USA. Of course, he didn't actually own any Japanese running shoes, and the few he had seen were brought stateside by soldiers who had been stationed in Japan during the occupation of the Second World War. But this lack of exposure only reassured Phil that he had stumbled upon a great opportunity. He knew that to take advantage of it, he'd have to establish contact with a Japanese company and negotiate to import their goods to America, both of which were actions he had exactly zero experience with. But, as is befitting of the man who later created Nike, he went ahead and just did it. In November 1962, he flew over to Japan like a tourist and just started exploring. In the beautiful city of Kobe, he stumbled upon a shoe store that caught his eye. It belonged to a company called Onitsuka Tiger, and the shoes they made were, for their time, very high quality, so much so that Phil was determined to import them back home. He presented himself as an American shoe distributor and arranged a meeting with the company's founder. Phil made up a company name on the spot and offered to become Onitsuka's distributor in America, a proposal which, probably to his surprise, the owner actually accepted. With nothing more than his confidence, Phil had become the exclusive distributor for Onitsuka Tiger in the USA. He received his first shipment of 12 pairs of Tiger shoes in 1963, and he started selling them out of the back of his car at every running track he could drive to. Obviously, though, his strategy wasn't scalable, so he went to the only person he knew who understood more about running shoes than he did, his former coach at the University of Oregon, Bill Bower. Now, Bill trained multiple Olympic athletes. He liked the Tiger shoes so much that he wanted to partner up. Thus, in January 1964, Bill and Phil incorporated Blue Ribbon Sports, each investing $500 into it. They spent all that money on their first order, which at $3.33 a pair amounted to 300 pairs of shoes. The shipment came through in April 1964, and thanks to Bill's connections, it was sold out by July. In their first year, BRS sold $8,000 worth of shoes, and with that money, Phil started hiring salesmen for his company. In 1965, their revenue had increased to $20,000. Pretty soon, they opened their very own store in Santa Monica. But while Phil was handling the business side of the operation, the actual innovation was coming from Bill. He was the guy who single-handedly brought jogging to America. In 1966, he wrote a book about it that sold over 1 million copies. And of course, his company was among the first to start marketing the Tiger shoes for jogging. Bowerman was all about innovation, and with every new shipment from Onitsuka, he'd cut open a few shoes to see how they were made, and he'd always try to improve them, by, for example, adding to the cushion or using more lightweight materials. He'd constantly send his notes to Japan requesting changes. He was effectively designing Onitsuka's shoes for them. It was one of Bill's designs that catapulted BRS into the mainstream. The Cortez, as he called it, became one of the best-selling shoes in 1968, undoubtedly thanks to the 1968 Olympics, held in Mexico. Thanks to the Cortez, BRS sold $300,000 worth of shoes in 1969. But they had a big problem. The Cortez was so successful that they couldn't keep up with the demand. Every new shipment they received sold out faster than the one before, but Onitsuka kept sending them at the same glacial pace. What Onitsuka were actually doing was satisfying their local demand in Japan first, and then sending whatever was left to America. Phil and Bill knew that to expand, they would have to evolve beyond being just a simple distributor. Then they realized that they held all the cards. The Cortez was Bowerman's design, so as soon as their contract with Onitsuka expired, they were free to start making it for themselves. Luckily for them, their contract would end in 1972, just before the Olympics in Munich. Thus, Phil had plenty of time to prepare for his big move. In 1971, he started working on the branding. His first employee suggested calling the brand Nike, after the Greek goddess of victory. Then Phil needed a logo, so he went to a nearby university, snatched the first graphic design student he could find, and told her to make him a logo. For the impressive sum of $35, he got this swoosh. In hindsight, that was money well spent. With his branding now complete, Phil was ready for the Olympics. This time, instead of locking himself into exclusive agreements, Phil established a network of subcontractors across Japan. With production under his control, Phil could finally spread his wings. You can see in this graph of Nike's sales exactly when Phil started importing shoes from his Japanese subcontractors. And yes, he started before his contract had even expired, in 1971. From then on, the story of Nike became one of growth. They became the largest sportswear company in America in 1989, on the back of brilliant marketing like the Just Do It campaign, and by signing rookie athletes that would eventually become famous across the world. The ascent of Nike is a story every bit as interesting as the early days of Phil Knight. But don't take my word for it. Phil Knight himself released his autobiography in 2016, and you can listen to it for free as part of your 30-day free trial of Audible. In his book, Phil goes into much greater detail than I ever possibly could in this video, so if you like the story so far, you should follow the link in the description to get your free copy of the story as written by the man himself. Visit audible.com/businesscasual or text businesscasual to 500-500 to get started with Audible, who, if you don't know, have the biggest collection of audiobooks in the world. I'd really appreciate it if you check them out, and I also want to thank you for watching this video. Share it around if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. You can expect my next video in 2 weeks.
Done from the Nike video. And next we go to fans of the world. Fans is is an American manufacturer of skateboarding shoes and related apparel is based in Santa Ana, California, and owned by VF Corporation. The company also sponsors surf, snowboarding, BMX, and motocross team. Since 1996, the company has been the primary sponsor of the annual Fans World Tour Traveling Rock Festival. Paul Van Duren Paul Van Duren is Fans founder. In 1944, Paul Van Duren dropped out of intermediate school in 8th grade. At age 14, when he realized he don't like school, he had a strong passion for horse and found his way to the racetrack, where he earned the nickname Dutch and Clutch. That's the clutch. And for this wonder, he would give you the odds of race. Paul's mother, Rana, did not enjoy the idea of Paul being without a job and not in school. So she insisted he get a job at Randy's shoe manufacturer. His job entailed sweeping the floor and making shoes. Paul eventually worked his way up the ladder and became the executive vice president at just 34 years old. Randy has become one of the biggest shoes manufacturers in the U.S. Van Duren quick success in Massachusetts. He was ordered not to turn around a filing Randy's factory in Garden Grove, California, that was losing close to $1 million each month. Paul and his brother Jim moved their families and settled in Anaheim to help the factory. After just 8 months of being in Garden Grove, the factory was functioning better than one in Massachusetts. 3 months after trying to have the Garden Grove factory, Paul decided he wanted to start his own shoes brand. On March 16, 1966, at 704 East Broadway in Anaheim, California, brothers Paul Van Duren and James Van Duren and Gordon C. Lee opened the first fan store under the name Van Duren Brothers Company. The business manufactured shoes and sold them directly to the public on that first morning. 12 customers purchased Van Dyke shoes, which are now known as authentic. The company displayed 3 styles of shoes, which were priced between $200 and $500. But on the opening day, the company had only manufactured display models without any inventory ready to sell. The store rack boxes were actually empty. Nevertheless, the 12 customers selected the color and style they desired and were asked to return later in the afternoon to pick up their purchases. Paul Van Duren and Lee rushed to the factory of manufacturing the selected shoes. When the customer returned the afternoon to pick up their shoes, Paul Van Duren and Gordon C. Lee realized that they had forgotten to maintain a cash reserve to provide change to customers. The customers were therefore given the shoes and asked to return the following day with their payments. Although of the customer returned the following day to pay for the items, the original version of the fans skateboard logo was designed in Costa Mesa, California in the since 1970 by Mark Van Doren at the age of 13. The son of the president and co-owner James Van Doren may design the logo as a stencil to be spray painted on his skateboard, initially introduced for the heel tag. On an early fan skateboard shoes, the style 1995, his original fan skateboard logo is an important part of his fans history. In 1988, Paul Van Doren and Gordon Seeley sold the fans company to the banking firm McConville and Corporation for $74 million in 1989. Many manufacturers, the counterfeit fan shoes were apprehended by the U.S. and Mexican officials and ordered to cease production. In 2004, Vans announced it would mark into North California based. And this is Vans video. And this is a shoes bed. Like is make how to make this product of fans. Like what is fan shoes make it. And this is maybe if we see a creator do the work, it's like is very easily. That fans logo from skateboard. is barbecues in America. Maybe simple, but if we do it is maybe very hard, difficult. I like this fence. Red fence. Clean that shoes. Fence on the wall. Premium shoes. Oh. Next to New Balance. New Balance. These cool shoes produced by Balmain Massachusetts, United States is a prima donna for most people. With a stylish and sporty look and model, New Balance is very suitable for sport activities such as running, jogging, or other activities. The latest, fashionable, and elegant New Balance shoe design makes it an icon loved by all walks of life. With good quality and durability, New Balance has long durability and can be used for years. There are type of new type of New Balance used for various purposes such as running, cross training, basketball, tennis, and casual with various models. And this is William G. Huday. In 1906, William G. Huday, an Irish immigrant, founded the New Balance at support company in the Boston area, manufacturing out support and other accessories designed it improves shoe fit. His first product, a flexible arch support, was designed with 3 support points to provide greater balance and comfort in the shoes. It is believed that really come up with the name New Balance by observing chickens in his yard and demonstrate the way his arch support worked by keeping a chicken food on his office desk. He explained to customer that the chicken tree food result in perfect balance. In 1927, Riley hired Arthur Hall to be a in salesman. In 1934, Hall became a business partner and found his nice way marketing the people whose jobs required them to spend a lot of time standing. In and in 1956, Hall sold the business to his daughter Eleanor and her husband Paul Kidd. Eleanor and Paul Kidd continued to sell mainly arch manufacturing the sectors. The word first running shoe made with a ripple sole was also the first running shoe to come in foreign which the trackstar was given a big boost through the YMCA program in which it became the unofficial shoe. College track teams such as Massachusetts Institute of Technology or MIT, Tufts University and Boston University added the New Balance trackster. For the cross-country teams soon to be followed by other colleges and private high school around the country. Marketing was mostly word of mouth or local sport fair. Sales language until 1972 when current chairman Jan Davis bought the company on the day of their Boston Marathon. And this is the New Balance video about New Balance.
It's Pixelated, and today we are looking at these colorful pair of kicks right here. I don't know how they decide on the color blocking for the shoe, but they must have had me in mind because this is exactly something I would wear. The shoe we're looking at is the magnificent New Balance 997H. This shoe has a lot of history behind it, and we have a lot of ground to cover. So let's get started. The New Balance 997H released on February 2nd and has been praised for its affordable pricing. It's going for about $89.99 in the States and $119.99 here in Canada, which is very affordable relatively. This was a huge factor for New Balance to make this pair affordable, tackling the previously high barrier to entry for this sneaker, which is the price. The New Balance 997 without the H is particularly expensive, selling for upwards of $200 for the most part. The New Balance 997H is a revival of one of their most revered and iconic silhouettes, that of course being the 997, a model of the same number without the H as I mentioned previously. The New Balance 997 debuted back in 1990 to much critical acclaim and fanfare, and this can be attributed to the designer behind the shoe, Stephen Smith. The sneaker itself was a beast in the 90s for being a great running sneaker. Yes, people actually ran in runners like these back then. I know, weird, right? On top of that, vintage sneaker aficionados will always have a place in their heart for this model because who knows why really? One thing we do know is that this sneaker has been revived and it meshes perfectly with today's sneaker climate. It's a dad shoe, it's got some vibrant colors that are futuristic but a callback to the 70s colorful palette all at the same time. It houses a thick midsole, raised heel, and a low-angle nosedive taking toe box. That is really what most people are into. If you look at some popular sneakers right now, they have similar aesthetics. Does that mean New Balance was decades ahead of its time? Probably. We're jumping ahead here, and before we get started on materials, feel free to follow me on Instagram at Pixelated, that's at Picsole.
Kalau udah bilang nih.
ATED for fire sneaker content and future giveaways. With that out of the way, let's get into the materials. The upper of the shoe is made of several materials, the most prominent of them all. What's going on, guys? It meshes perfectly with today's. The upper of the shoe is made of several materials. The most prominent of them all is this white leather that makes up the toe box, the mid panels including the lace eyelets, and the end logo on the sides. We then have this white mesh making up the rest of the toe box. Then we have a splash of color here, which is navy. You can see this forming the back part of the toe box. We then have navy mesh creating the upper portion of the heel and the whole tongue of the shoe. The final splash of color we have is this deep, non-millennial pink, underlaying the end logo. It makes up the bottom encapsulating portion of the heel, the inner fabric of the shoe. The entire insole is pink and very airy, as you can see with the holes. Finally, we have pink text and 997 branding on the tongue label of the shoe and a pink heel pull with repeated NB New Balance branding, which I love that detail. We have this great plush suede forming the rest of the heel counter. Then we have this nice juicy midsole, and I'm not sure what the cushioning tech is exactly over here that makes up this midsole, because with New Balance you usually get the name plastered right on it, but it is said that New Balance went back in the lab and started working on an upgraded version of the OG 997's fused C-cap, end-cap cushioning. This resulted in a lighter midsole and outsole profile, meaning simply that the shoe feels lighter on your foot, which I can assure you that it does. Now, while I go on with this review, the link is in the description if you want to check out the shoes and possibly buy them. Full disclosure, it is an affiliate link, so I get a little kickback if you do decide to buy them. It's not much, but it helps. When it comes to sizing, I got these in a size 10, which is my true to size. They fit fine, but I'm almost certain I could have fit a size 9.5. I almost always go a half a size down in every New Balance I've owned in the past, aside from the 530s, and the 997H is no different. I could have easily been able to go half a size down to a 9.5 in these. When it comes to comfort, honestly, I'm so glad I got this review out. New Balance sent me these a while ago. Thank you, New Balance, and sorry for bringing the review out so late, but now that it's out, I can finally make these my daily wear shoes. They're extremely light, comfortable, and will pop no matter what outfit you wear with them. Don't get me wrong though, if you're looking for the pinnacle of comfort or the most comfortable shoe in the world, there are alternatives, but if you want the jack of all trades, a comfortable, light, stylish shoe that won't bring you even close to breaking the bank, these are the ones. With a great performance and design history behind them, New Balance continues to peddle us classic designs, and we keep buying them. Why? Because they're incredible. New Balance adheres to the design principles of timelessness and incremental evolution, meaning their designs are built to last, and they have, even through all the trends that have come and gone. But they continue innovating in a more minimal, detail-oriented fashion, making sure their future designs are just as timeless as the ones before them. And brands love to work with them because they know this. One of my favorite releases in recent times were the Kith United Arrows New Balance and the Kith non-native New Balance 997s and the 997S Fusions. I think the willingness for these brands with world-renowned designers to constantly collaborate with New Balance on the silhouette through the ages speaks for itself. Now, if you're interested in the shoes, once again, I've left a link in the description of this video for you to check out. They're hella sexy and hella affordable, a combination you don't get very often these days. I, for one, love these shoes. I've been a fan of New Balance for ages, and they're constantly churning out that heat. What did you guys think about this shoe? Would you prefer a different colorway? Let me know in the comments. Catch you later. Pixelated is trying to find his balance. What's going on?
And the next is Converse. Converse is an American shoes company that primarily produces skating shoes and lifestyle worn footwear and apparel. Founded in 1908 and 19,000 and 1908. Converse is an American shoes company that primarily produces skating, shoes, and lifestyle brand footwear and apparel. Founded in 1908, it has been a subsidiary of Nike Inc. since 2003. During World War II, the company shifted its manufacturing from the public and instead made footwear for the military. It was one of the few producers of athletic shoes, and for over half a century, the company dominates the American court shoes market. From the 1970s, the company lost its dominant position after other companies present their own styles. Converse shoes are distinguished by a number of features, including the company star insignia, the all-star rubber sole, smooth round toe, and wrap around strip. Converse manufactures its product under the Cons, Chuck Taylor, All-Star, and John Farfeters and Jack Purcell trade names. In addition to apparel and footwear, the company sells other items through retailers is over 160 countries and shop approximately 75 company-owned retail stores across across the United States and employed 2,000 and 658 in the USA in uh, 2015. Converse is a popular brand that produces athletic shoes and is a fashion icon favored by young people and adults alike. Cole sneakers from the Converse brand, founded by Marcus Neal, Converse, began its history since in 1908 in America and continues its legendary journey today. Some of the most popular series of Converse output are Converse Tire. Converse Tire All-Star. Tire is an American basketball player who also designed Converse shoes for Olympiad in 1936. The shoes produced by Converse predominantly use canvas with classic black and white models. For fans of sneaker and street fashion, Converse, now a subsidiary of Nike, is a favorite shoe brand that is worth collecting. And next is Marquis Mills. Marquis Mills Converse founded the Converse rubber shoes company in 1908 in Malden, Massachusetts. In 1917, the company designed the forerunner of the modern all-star shoe that it marketed under the name of non-skates. The shoe was composed of a rubber sole and canvas upper and was designed for basketball players. In 1921, Chuck Taylor, an American semi-professional basketball player, joined Converse as a salesman. Within a year of Taylor's arrival, the company had adopted his ideas for improvement to the shoes, designed to enhance its flexibility and ankle support. The restyled shoe also incorporated distinctive all-star logo and the pure patch that protected the ankle. After Taylor's signature was added to ankle patch as his endorsement, they became known as Taylor All-Star, the first celebrity endorsed athletic shoe. And this Converse video. And this is a Converse video. Converse. This Converse shoes. First Converse. And this is Taylor. only from 1970 onward with the surge of new competition, including Puma, Adidas, and Hero. The following the first part of done or and thanks. This is from me and wallet. Thanks. This is from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.